The rain had been falling steadily all afternoon, turning the quiet roadside into a slick, reflective ribbon of asphalt. Jack Thompson, a single dad juggling 2 energetic kids and a part-time job, was driving home after picking up his daughter from dance class. The windshield wipers thrashed back and forth, but his attention was drawn to something unusual ahead. A woman standing at the edge of the road, soaked, shivering, her elegant white gown ripped across the skirt. Curiosity and concern overrode caution. Jack slowed down and rolled down the window. "Hey, do you need a ride?" he asked gently, careful not to startle her. She looked up, eyes wide and glistening with tears. "Yes, please," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rain. Jack pulled over. As she climbed in, he noticed the remnants of what must have been a designer dress and a veil tangled in her hair. "Rough night?" he asked, trying to keep the mood light. She nodded but didn't speak. The silence stretched as Jack drove, headlights cutting through the downpour. Finally, she sighed, and the story poured out in fragments. A lavish wedding she couldn't go through with, a controlling fiancé, the pressure of a life she didn't want. "I couldn't do it," she admitted, voice breaking. "I just ran." Jack's heart softened. He'd been a dad for years, and he understood responsibility and courage. "Sometimes the hardest thing is the right thing," he said quietly. "I don't know your life, but I know you're brave for walking away." She glanced at him, a mixture of surprise and relief in her eyes. "Thank you," she murmured, the simplest words carrying the weight of her exhaustion and fear. As they drove, Jack noticed a small cafe up ahead, a place with warm lights and the smell of coffee and pastries that promised comfort. "Do you want to stop?" he asked. She nodded, grateful for the small mercy of warmth and normalcy. In the cafe, they talked more. She laughed softly, and for the first time that night, the tension in her shoulders eased. Jack listened, offering kindness without judgment. When he dropped her at a nearby inn for the night, she hugged him tightly. "You saved me tonight," she said. Jack smiled. "You saved yourself. I just drove the car." The next morning, the news buzzed about the runaway bride from a billionaire wedding, a scandal that would make headlines. But for Jack, the story was simpler, more human. A reminder that a small act of kindness, a willingness to help without expecting anything in return, could change someone's life in a single moment. As he drove home, Jack glanced in the rearview mirror at his kids in the back seat, their laughter filling the car. He realized that being a single dad wasn't just about providing. It was about teaching empathy, courage, and the quiet power of humanity. And tonight, a stranger's gratitude had reminded him of exactly that. In a world that often celebrated wealth and power, sometimes the real hero was the one who simply cared enough to stop, open a door, and offer a ride. That night, Jack couldn't shake the image of her, the elegant, frightened bride, sitting quietly in the inn lobby, sipping tea as if trying to convince herself she had made the right choice. He wondered if she had a plan or if she was just drifting, hoping the world wouldn't notice. The next morning, on his way to work, Jack's phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "Thank you for yesterday. You gave me a chance to breathe. If you ever want to understand why I left, meet me at 7 p.m. at the Riverside Park Cafe." Lila, Jack hesitated. He didn't usually get involved in other people's dramas, but something about her message felt genuine, a call for simple human connection. He typed back a short reply, "I'll be there." When he arrived that evening, the cafe was quiet, the golden sunset casting long reflections on the river. Lila was there, sitting at a corner table, the same torn dress patched with a scarf, her hair damp but neatly tied back. She waved him over, a small smile breaking through the exhaustion in her eyes. "Thanks for coming," she said softly. "I wasn't sure anyone would." Jack shrugged, keeping his voice light. "I said I'd come. You were in trouble." Lila laughed, a delicate sound that lifted some of the tension. "Trouble? Maybe. Or maybe I just needed someone who wouldn't judge me for leaving it all behind." As they talked, Jack realized how extraordinary her story was. Not just the billionaire wedding, the pressure, or the media frenzy she was about to face, but the quiet courage it took to step away from a life that wasn't hers. And in listening, without giving advice or asking for anything in return, He felt an unexpected sense of fulfillment. Suddenly, a commotion outside caught their attention. Paparazzi had apparently tracked her down, their cameras flashing relentlessly as they tried to capture her fleeing the scene. Lila's face paled, panic threatening to take over. Jack stood up without thinking. "Follow me," he said, leading her out the back door to a small alley that ran along the riverbank. They ran, laughing nervously as adrenaline and fear intertwined, finally stopping at a quiet dock where the city noise seemed miles away. For a long moment, they just breathed, soaked in the cool river breeze. Lila looked at Jack, eyes wide with gratitude. "You saved me again," she said. "No," Jack replied, smiling. "You saved yourself. I just gave you a way to breathe." Lila nodded, a tear rolling down her cheek. "I'll never forget this. I didn't know people like you existed." Jack shrugged, a little embarrassed by the attention. "We exist. We just don't always make the news." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the city lights reflecting on the river, Jack realized that some acts of kindness don't need recognition. They only need courage, empathy, and the willingness to stop for a stranger. And in that moment, both of them felt a profound sense of hope, that no matter how overwhelming the world could be, human compassion could carve a path forward. Driving home later, Jack thought of his kids waiting for him. He knew he would tell them this story someday. Not the glamorous details, but the lesson that sometimes the right thing to do is simply the kind thing, and that small, brave choices could ripple far beyond what anyone could see. And somewhere, far from the limelight and the headlines, Lila sat in that quiet inn room, feeling the first genuine peace she had known in months.